AITA for making my ex-fiancée beg after she canceled our wedding for a trip to Paris? Hey, I never thought I'd be one of those guys posting his relationship drama online, but here we are. I'm still processing everything that happened, so bear with me if this gets long. I'm also using a throwaway account because this story went semi-viral in my social circle, and I don't want it linked to my main account, where I usually just browse PC building forums and gaming subreddits. I, 29 male, was engaged to Briar, 27 female. Until 3 weeks ago. We were together for 2.5 years, engaged for 8 months. I met her at my friend Connor's housewarming party in his new Soma condo. She was beautiful, confident, and had this way of making everyone in the room gravitate towards her. The first year was great. She was attentive, fun, always planning elaborate dates, like weekend trips to Big Sur or getting reservations at Michelin-starred restaurants I'd only read about. She made me feel special, like she'd chosen me out of all the men who were clearly interested in her. And believe me, there were always men interested in Briar. She brought up her exes constantly, especially a guy named Griffin. According to her, Griffin was a successful real estate developer who treated her like a queen. They dated for 3 years before he moved to Chicago for work. She painted it as a tragic love story where they were both too heartbroken to try a long-distance relationship. Griffin always said I had the best taste in restaurants, she'd comment when we were picking a place for dinner. Oh, Griffin taught me how to taste wine. He had such a sophisticated palate. It was always Griffin this, Griffin that. When I finally asked her why she brought him up so much, she got defensive. He was a huge part of my life for 3 years, Holden. I can't just pretend that didn't happen. Besides, you're nothing like him, so I don't know why you feel threatened. The way she said nothing like him should have been my first red flag. It didn't sound reassuring. It sounded more like she was settling for something completely different. But I convinced myself she meant it in a good way. Griffin was her past. I was her future. Nope. Wrong. A year in, her friend Lila started giving me weird looks. Lila was her college roommate, a nurse who was very down-to-earth, unlike Briar's other friends who lived in a social media bubble of perfection. Lila was real, and she was the designated maid of honor, which made sense because they'd been friends the longest. One night, at Briar's birthday party, while she was in the restroom, Lila leaned over to me. "Holden, you're a really good guy," she said, her face awkward. "I just want you to know that." I replied, "Thanks, Lila. You're a good friend to Briar." She hesitated for a moment, then said, "Just be careful. Okay." Sometimes Briar doesn't realize what she has until it's gone. Before I could ask what she meant, Briar came back, and the conversation shifted. But that comment stuck with me. Over the next few months, I noticed Lila watching Briar with a worried expression, especially when Briar would get texts that made her smile secretively. Fast forward to the engagement. I proposed in October during a weekend trip to Napa Valley. I spent the equivalent of 3 months pay on the ring because Briar had been not so subtly showing me pictures of what she wanted. A 2-carat princess cut diamond on a platinum band. The proposal was at a fancy restaurant she had mentioned. When I got down on one knee, she cried and said yes. But later, I overheard her on the phone with her sister saying, "It wasn't exactly how I pictured it, but it's sweet." Not exactly how I pictured it. That should have been the second red flag. Wedding planning started immediately. Briar dove into it with an impressive, if exhausting, intensity. She had Pinterest boards for everything, spreadsheets comparing vendors, a timeline that looked like a military operation. The wedding was set for June 15th at a beautiful vineyard an hour outside the city. The cost was going to be around $50,000, far more than I ever imagined spending on a single day. But Briar insisted we were only getting married once, and it had to be perfect. Griffin's cousin got married at a country club, she mentioned while we were looking at venues. It was beautiful, but too traditional. I want something more unique, you know? Even wedding planning somehow came back to Griffin. The guest list was 150 people. On Briar's side, it was mostly college friends, work colleagues, and extended family. On my side, it was family, college friends, and a few coworkers. Pretty standard. What wasn't standard was how Briar kept mentioning how much fancier or more expensive her friends' weddings had been. Sarah's wedding last year was at the Ritz-Carlton. She'd sigh while looking over the catering menu. Her parents spent $60,000 on the reception alone, but I guess this will be fine. I was working extra hours to cover the costs, taking on freelance web development projects on weekends. My parents offered to contribute, but Briar turned them down, saying she didn't want them to feel obligated. Looking back, I think she was embarrassed that their contribution would be so modest compared to what her family was giving. 3 months before the wedding, Griffin moved back to town. Briar mentioned it casually one night while I was cooking dinner. "Oh, by the way, Griffin's back. He bought some properties downtown and is opening a development firm here." "That's nice," I said, not paying much attention, focused on not burning the chicken. "Yeah, we should all hang out sometime. You'd like him. He's really down to earth despite his success." I looked up at that. "We should hang out with your ex?" "Holden, we're adults. He's going to be around town. We have mutual friends. It would be weird to avoid him." That weekend, we ran into Griffin at a coffee shop in Hayes Valley. Well, to say we ran into is generous. Briar suggested we go to a specific place across town that she'd never mentioned before. And surprise, Griffin was there. He was exactly what I'd pictured: tall, perfectly styled hair, wearing a casual outfit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Confident handshake, big smile, and he immediately started talking about his new business ventures. He was the type of guy who calls everyone buddy in a condescending way. "So you're the lucky guy?" Griffin said, clapping me on the shoulder. Briar always said she wanted to settle down one day. Settle down. Not find the right person or fall in love. Settle down. Like getting married was just another item on her to-do list. Briar was practically glowing while talking to him, laughing at his jokes, touching his arm as she spoke. I felt invisible. After an hour of hearing about Griffin's amazing life, we finally left. In the car, Briar was unusually quiet. "He seems nice," I said. "Yeah, he is. I'm glad to see he's doing so well," she replied. That night, I noticed she was on her phone more than usual. When I asked who she was talking to, she said, "Just catching up with some people," and put her phone away. But I caught a glimpse of the name Griffin on the screen. Over the next month, Briar started staying late at work more often, having more girls' nights, and seemed distracted in our conversations. The wedding planning, which once consumed her, took a back seat. When I'd ask about confirming vendors or finalizing details, she'd wave me off. "We have time. Holden, it's pretty much all done anyway." But when I called the caterer to confirm our menu tasting, they said Briar had canceled it. When I asked her about it, she said she'd reschedule, but she never did. That's when Lila called me. "Holden, can we meet for coffee? There's something I need to tell you." A knot formed in my stomach. "Is Briar okay?" "She's fine, Can we meet tomorrow after work?" I barely slept that night. I met her at a Starbucks near the hospital where she worked. She looked tired, stressed. "I should have said something sooner," she began. "I was hoping Briar would come to her senses, but she's not thinking clearly." "What's going on?" Lila pulled out her phone, scrolled through her messages, and showed me the screen. They were conversations between her and Briar from the past 3 weeks. I felt my heart sink as I read them. "Briar, saw Griffin today. God, he looks incredible." "Briar, we had coffee yesterday. Just as friends, but it felt like old times." "Briar, I think I made a mistake letting him go. Holden is sweet, but he's not. You know." "Briar, Griffin asked me if I was happy. I couldn't answer him." "Briar, I can't stop thinking about what my life would be like if I had moved to Chicago with him." "Lila, Briar, you're getting married in 2 months to a good man who loves you." "Briar, what if I'm settling? What if I'm making the biggest mistake of my life?" I put the phone down on the table. My hands were shaking. "Holden, I'm so sorry," Lila said. "I've been trying to talk sense into her, but she won't listen. She's been meeting up with Griffin regularly. She says it's just as friends, but yesterday she asked me what I thought about canceling the wedding. Not postponing, canceling. She told me Griffin said he never should have left without her, that seeing her again made him realize what he lost. I felt sick. Is she going to leave me? I don't know. Maybe. I think she's confused and making bad choices. But Holden, you deserve better than someone who isn't sure about you." Lila was right. I knew it, but I was 2 months away from marrying the woman I thought was the love of my life. I couldn't just give up without trying to fix things. That night, I confronted Briar. I told her I knew she'd been seeing Griffin, that Lila was worried about her, that I felt her pulling away from me and our wedding. Her response was not what I expected. "Lila had no right to show you my private messages," she said, her tone icy. "And yes, I've been spending time with Griffin. We have a lot of history, and I'm trying to process that before I get married. Process what exactly? Whether I'm making the right decision. Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. The right decision, Briar? We're engaged. We've been planning our wedding for 8 months. And maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I said yes because I was scared of being alone, not because I was sure about us. I stared at her. Are you serious? I think we should postpone the wedding. Postpone or cancel? She couldn't look me in the eye. I don't know. I need time to figure things out. That was a Thursday night. I spent Friday and the weekend at work, unable to focus. I called in sick Monday and Tuesday. I couldn't face anyone. Briar went to stay at her sister's house. She said she needed space to think. Our wedding was exactly 6 weeks away. Vendors were expecting final payments. My family was booking hotels. Hers was flying in from 3 different states, and she needed space to decide if she wanted to marry me. On Wednesday morning, my phone buzzed. A text from Briar. I was hoping for an apology, maybe a request to talk, but I got this. Hey Holden, I've made my decision. I'm sorry. Well, not really. I found something better. Griffin surprised me with a trip to Paris. First class, 5-star hotel, the works. Finally, someone who can show me the world the way I deserve to see it. The wedding is off, obviously. You can handle canceling everything, since most of it was your idea anyway. Don't try to contact me. I'll be busy living my best life. I read it 3 times before it really sank in. She had canceled our wedding via text. After 2.5 years together, 8 months engaged, and 6 weeks before the wedding, she left me with a paragraph that ended with sorry, not sorry. I called her immediately. It went straight to voicemail. I texted her, asking if she was serious. No reply. I called her sister. Apparently, she had left for the airport 2 hours ago. That's when something inside me snapped. It wasn't anger, exactly, but a cold, calculating clarity. She thought she'd found something better. She wanted to see the world the way she thought she deserved. Fine, I thought. I'm going to show her exactly what she deserves. First, I called Lila. She answered on the first ring. Oh my God, Holden, I heard. I'm so sorry. I can't believe she just left like that. Lila, I need to ask you something. Do you have any vacation days available? What? Yeah, I have 2 weeks saved up. What? How would you feel about a trip to Paris? Silence. Holden, what are you thinking? I'm thinking Briar wanted to see Paris with someone who could show her the world. And I'm also thinking you've been a better friend to me this past month than she has in 2 years. Do you want to help me teach her a lesson? Another pause. What kind of lesson? I explained my plan. The same hotel Briar was staying at. I knew because she'd posted it on her Instagram story, tagging Griffin and bragging about her first-class flight and all the luxury. The same dates, the same restaurants she'd been researching for months for her trip. Everything she thought would be her perfect romantic getaway with Griffin, I was going to do with the one person who had been honest with me through all of this. That's pretty ruthless. She canceled our wedding via text, Lila. I think I'm entitled to be a little ruthless. Lila was quiet for a moment, and then she started laughing. You know what? Yes. Absolutely yes. Briar needs a dose of reality, and I am so tired of watching her treat good people badly. Let's do it. That same afternoon, I took the engagement ring to 3 different jewelers and took the highest offer, $8,200, more than enough to book the exact same trip Briar was on. I spent hours researching. I found the hotel, Hotel de Qley, a boutique in the 2nd arrondissement. I booked the same type of room she had shown in her pictures. I tracked down the restaurants she had tagged in her stories. I made reservations at all of them. I even found the wine tour she'd been talking about and the shopping districts she had planned to visit. Lila was incredible through all of this. Not only did she agree to come, but she helped plan the trip. It turns out she spoke decent French from college and had always wanted to visit Paris, but never had anyone to go with. We weren't doing it as a romantic thing, we were friends. She was helping me prove a point, and she'd get her dream vacation out of it. You know she's going to lose her mind when she finds out, right? Lila said as we were booking flights. That's the idea. Good. She deserves it. The way she's talked about you, about Griffin, about everything, someone needs to show her that actions have consequences. We flew out that Saturday, exactly 3 days after Briar had left. I called my boss, explained the situation without going into detail, and used all my saved vacation time. Lila did the same at the hospital. We would be in Paris for 6 days, Tuesday to Sunday. The flight was surreal. I kept thinking I had to be dreaming. My fiancée had left me for her ex, and I was flying to Paris with her maid of honor to teach her a lesson. But there I was in seat 12A with Lila beside me, reading a French guidebook and planning our itinerary. You know, she said midway through the flight, I've been thinking about what Briar said. About you handling the wedding cancellations. Yeah. What about it? Did you actually cancel everything? I smiled. I canceled my things, the band, the photographer, my tux rental. I figured if she wanted to cancel the wedding by text, she could handle explaining to the vendors why they weren't getting paid. Lila's eyes went wide. Holden, the catering alone was going to be $8,000. Not my problem anymore. The flowers were $3,000. Also not my problem. Her dress was $4,000, and she was supposed to pick it up this week. Definitely not my problem. Lila burst out laughing. Oh my God. She's going to come back from Paris to absolute chaos. Vendors demanding payment, her family asking questions, her dress about to be sold to someone else. Maybe she should have thought about that before she dumped me via text and ran off with her ex. We landed in Paris on Tuesday morning. The hotel was even more beautiful than in Briar's pictures. Our rooms were on the 4th floor overlooking the inner garden. Lila was practically bouncing with excitement. She'd never been to Europe and couldn't stop taking pictures of everything. I can't believe I'm here, she said as we walked through the lobby. I've wanted to take this trip since college but could never afford it. Well, you can thank Briar's engagement ring. She paid for this vacation in the end. That first day was incredible. We walked along the Seine, visited Notre Dame, still under restoration from the fire, but beautiful. We had lunch at an outdoor cafe in the Latin Quarter. Lila was the perfect travel partner, enthusiastic, adventurous, and she was great at keeping me from wallowing in self-pity. You know what I keep thinking about? She told me over dinner at Lambroisi. Briar has no idea who she really is. What do you mean? She thinks she's this sophisticated, cosmopolitan person who deserves the best things in life. But look at us, she said, gesturing around the restaurant. This isn't about the money. It's about appreciating experiences, being present, enjoying the moment. You're doing it. I'm doing it. But I guarantee you, Briar is spending her whole trip comparing everything to what she imagined, posting pictures to make people jealous, and missing the actual experience because she's too busy performing it. She wasn't wrong. I'd been checking Briar's Instagram occasionally, and every post was about the luxury, the price tag, the exclusivity, glasses of champagne, hotel robes, shopping bags. Nothing about the city, the culture, the food, or the people. Meanwhile, Lila was documenting everything with a genuine joy that was infectious. She posted pictures of street musicians, random architectural details, and even the look on my face when I tried escargot for the first time. Real moments, not a performance. On Wednesday, we went to the Louvre and walked through the Tuileries garden. Thursday, we visited Versailles. Friday, we did the wine tour Briar had bragged so much about. Each day was better than the last. I found myself laughing more than I had in months, feeling more relaxed and happy than I could remember, even before everything with Briar fell apart. I have a confession, Lila said on Thursday night as we walked back to the hotel after dinner. I've had a huge crush on you since the day Briar introduced us. I stopped in my tracks. Lila, don't worry, she said quickly. I'm not trying to be a rebound or take advantage of the situation. I just thought you should know. You're kind, you're thoughtful, you're funny when you're not stressed out by Briar's drama. Any woman would be lucky to have you. Briar is an idiot for not seeing it. We just stood there in the middle of a Parisian street, looking at each other. For a moment, I wondered what would have happened if I'd met Lila first, if I'd never been pulled into Briar's orbit of drama and manipulation. For what it's worth, I said, if things were different, if the timing was different. I know, she cut in. And it's okay. Right now, we're friends on an amazing trip. That's enough. But something had shifted between us. It wasn't romantic, exactly, but a deeper connection. We'd always gotten along, but now I was seeing her as her own person, not just Briar's friend. And I liked what I saw. On Friday night, Lila made the post that changed everything. We'd had dinner at the restaurant Briar was most excited about. The food was incredible, the wine was perfect, and we spent 3 hours just talking and laughing. Lila convinced me to try the cheese plate. I'd always been intimidated by fancy French cheeses, and she took a picture of me making a ridiculous face after trying a particularly pungent one. "I'm posting this," she said, showing me the photo. "I look awful. You look happy. Genuinely happy. When's the last time you looked like that in a picture with Briar?" She had a point. Most pictures with Briar were posed, artificial. This was just me, being myself. She posted it on Instagram with a caption that, in retrospect, was perfect. "Sometimes the best adventures happen when you least expect them. Thanks for showing me Paris, Holden. Here's to friends who become family and experiences that remind us what joy feels like." She tagged me and our location. Nothing explicitly romantic, but intimate enough that anyone would wonder what was going on. The reaction was immediate. Briar's friends started commenting within minutes. "What is this, Holden? Are you guys in Paris?" Then I got a text from Briar's sister. "Are you in Paris with Lila right now?" I showed it to Lila, who grinned. "Want to really make a splash? What do you have in mind?" Briar just posted a story from her hotel room. The same hotel we're in. She's 3 floors below us. My blood ran cold. "She's here right now?" "Yep. And she has no idea we are." Lila pulled up Briar's story. It was a picture of her and Griffin in bathrobes, champagne glasses in hand, with the caption, "Living like royalty with my king." "Jesus, she's really leaning into this," I said. "Your move, Holden. We can lay low, enjoy the rest of our trip quietly, or we can go down to the hotel bar and see what happens." I thought about it for exactly 30 seconds. Let's see what happens. The bar was on the ground floor, stylish and dimly lit. We got there around 9 p.m. and took a table with a view of the entrance. I was nervous as hell, but also strangely excited. After days of seeing Briar's picture-perfect posts about her dream trip, I was curious to see the reality. We didn't have to wait long. Around 9:30, Briar and Griffin walked in. She looked flawless, designer dress, perfect hair and makeup, expensive jewelry. Griffin was wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. They looked like they'd stepped out of a magazine, but as they got closer, I could hear them talking, and it wasn't a romantic conversation. "I'm just saying, this place is fine, but it's not the Ritz," Griffin was saying. "My ex Sarah and I stayed at the Ritz last year. Much better service." "Well, sorry if my choices don't meet your standards," Briar snapped back, irritated. "Maybe if you'd given me more than 3 days' notice, I could have booked something more suitable. I thought you'd be grateful. Most women would kill for a trip like this. Most women haven't dated you before and learn what your promises are really worth. Trouble in paradise, apparently." They sat at the bar, not a table. Even from a distance, you could see the tension between them. Briar was constantly on her phone, posting pictures and finding the perfect angle for her stories. Griffin looked bored, scanning the room as if hoping for something more interesting to happen. That's when Briar saw me. Her face went through about 5 expressions in 3 seconds: confusion, recognition, shock, anger, and something that looked like panic. She whispered something to Griffin, who turned and looked at our table. The look on his face was priceless, like he couldn't process what he was seeing. Briar stood up abruptly and started walking toward us. Griffin followed, looking visibly uncomfortable. "Holden," Briar said as she arrived. Her voice was tight, controlled, but her eyes were burning with rage. "What are you doing here?" "Getting a drink with a friend," I replied calmly. "Beautiful city. Thanks for the recommendation." Her eyes darted to Lila, who was sipping her wine with complete serenity. "Lila, I should have known you were behind something like this." "Something like what?" Lila asked innocently. "You know exactly what this looks like. It looks like 2 people enjoying Paris." "What do you see?" Briar's jaw tightened. She turned back to me. "This is pathetic, Holden. Following me to Paris, really. Following you." I laughed. "Briar, you dumped me by text 3 days ago. You think I arranged an international trip in 3 days just to follow you? Give me a little more credit than that." Griffin finally spoke up. "Look, I don't know what game you're playing, but..." "I'm not playing a game." I cut him off, standing up. "I booked a trip to Paris with a friend. If you happen to be in the same city, that's a coincidence." Briar hissed. "Are you here to spy on me? To try and win me back or make me jealous? Or something equally pathetic?" Lila set her glass down on the table. "Briar, you dumped him via text to run off with your ex. You don't get to be angry that he's moving on. Moving on with my maid of honor. Ex-maid of honor, Lila corrected. There's no wedding, remember? I could see Briar starting to lose it. Her perfect facade was cracking. Holden, can we talk in private? She said, her voice softer now, sounding more like the woman I'd once fallen in love with. I glanced at Lila, who nodded. I'll be right here. Briar led me to a quiet corner of the bar, away from everyone else. Holden, I made a mistake, she said, her eyes filling with tears. I panicked. I got scared about the wedding, about the commitment. And when Griffin offered me this trip, it felt like a sign, like I was supposed to explore my options before settling down. Before settling down? I repeated. That's what marrying me was to you. Settling down. No, I didn't mean it like that. I meant settling into marriage, into being a wife. And how's that exploration going, Briar? Her face crumpled. It's not what I thought. Griffin isn't the same person he was 3 years ago. Or maybe I'm not. We've been fighting since we got here. He's selfish, demanding, nothing is good enough for him. And now you want to go back to your backup plan? You're not a backup plan. You're stable and reliable and safe. Every word made it worse. Safe. I don't mean it like that. I mean, you're good for me. You ground me. With Griffin, it's all drama and chaos, and I never know where I stand. Briar, you canceled our wedding via text. You said you found something better. You posted pictures with another man calling him your king. Did you really think I was just going to wait around for you to decide I was good enough? I was hoping. I thought if you saw how wrong I was. Oh, I see it. That's why I'm here with someone who actually values me. Her eyes flashed with anger. Lila is just using you to get back at me. You know she's always been jealous of me, right? She's always wanted what I have. Correction, what you had. And honestly, Briar, if Lila wanted what you had, she could have told me about your affair with Griffin months ago, instead of trying to protect you. It wasn't an affair. We weren't sleeping together. But you were emotionally cheating and planning to leave me. That's close enough. She was really crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. The perfect Instagram image shattered. Please, Holden, please. Can we just go somewhere and talk? Really talk. I know I screwed up, but maybe we can fix this. I looked over at our table, where Lila was checking something on her phone, glancing at me with concern every so often. Then I looked at the bar. Griffin was shamelessly flirting with the bartender as if his date hadn't just walked away minutes ago. No, Briar, we can't fix this. You made your choice when you sent that text. You made it again when you got on a plane with him. You don't get to unmake it just because it didn't turn out the way you hoped. So what? You're just going to date Lila now? My best friend. I'm going to do what makes me happy. And what makes me happy right now is being with someone who doesn't see me as a consolation prize. I walked back to the table. Lila looked up as I sat down. How'd that go? About how you'd expect. She wants to fix things. And I told her no. Lila smiled. Good. You deserve so much better than someone who treats you like a plan B. We finished our drinks and went up to the elevator. As we were waiting, I saw Briar and Griffin arguing at the bar. She was gesturing furiously. He was checking his phone. Even from a distance, it was clear their romantic getaway was not going according to plan. The elevator doors opened, and we stepped inside. Just before they closed, I caught Briar looking at us with an expression of pure devastation. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The next morning, Saturday, was our last full day in Paris. Lila and I had planned to visit Montmartre and see the Sacré-Cœur. We were having breakfast in the hotel restaurant when Griffin approached our table. Excuse me, he said, looking visibly awkward. Can I talk to you for a second? I looked at Lila, who shrugged. Sure. Griffin sat in an empty chair. Look, I wanted to apologize for this situation. I didn't know Briar was engaged when I reached out to her. That was interesting. She didn't mention the wedding? No, not until after I'd already booked the trip. She told me you two were having problems, that she was having second thoughts. I thought she was single. I processed that. So Briar had lied to Griffin, too, letting him believe our relationship was already over. Where's Briar now? I asked. She's not doing well. She saw your friend's Instagram post last night and kind of fell apart. She's been crying all morning, saying she made the biggest mistake of her life. Lila pulled out her phone. Which Instagram post? She showed me the post from the night before. The picture of me laughing at the cheese. It had gone viral overnight. Over 200 likes and dozens of comments. All of Briar's friends asking questions, congratulating us, making it clear they thought we made a perfect couple. She's been trying to delete comments all morning, Griffin continued. But people keep asking about you too. Why the wedding was canceled. Why you're in Paris together. She can't control the narrative. And for someone who lived their life on social media, losing control of the narrative had to be devastating for Briar. I'm flying back this afternoon, Griffin added. This whole thing has been a disaster from start to finish. She's not the person she was 3 years ago, and honestly, neither am I. We're toxic for each other. So you're just leaving her here? She has a return ticket for tomorrow, and frankly, I need the space. This has been the worst vacation of my life, Griffin said. After he left, Lila and I looked at each other. I almost feel bad for her, Lila said. Almost. Yeah, almost. But then I remember how she treated you, how she talked about you to people, how she dumped you over text, and it passes. We spent our last day exploring Montmartre, climbing the steps to the Sacré-Cœur, wandering through the Artist's Quarter, and having lunch at a little bistro with the best French onion soup I've ever had. It was perfect. Lila was perfect. Not flawless, perfect, but perfect for the moment, perfect for me. That night, as we were packing for our flight home, there was a knock on my hotel room door. I opened it to find Briar standing in the hallway, still in her pajamas, her hair a mess, her eyes puffy from crying. Holden, please. I know you're angry, but can we please just talk? Briar, there's nothing to talk about. There's everything to talk about. I made a mistake, a huge, terrible mistake. I was scared. I panicked, and I hurt you in the worst way possible. But I love you. I've always loved you. You have a funny way of showing it. I know I screwed up, but look around, she said, gesturing at the hotel at Paris. This was supposed to be our trip. These were supposed to be our memories. We planned this together. We looked up the restaurants, we picked the hotels, and now you're here with Lila instead of me. Because you chose to be here with Griffin instead of me. I chose wrong. I know that now. Griffin and I are nothing. We bring out the worst in each other. But you and I, we're good together. We balance each other out. We were good together. Past tense. You ended that when you sent me a text message canceling our wedding. I can fix it. We can fix it. We can get married next month or next year. Whenever you want. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. I looked at her, standing there in the hallway of a Paris hotel, desperate, broken, and finally understanding what she had lost. And I felt nothing. Not anger, not love, not even pity, just nothing. Briar, even if I could forgive you for how you ended things, I can't forget what you said. You said you found something better. You called me pathetic. You treated our relationship like it was disposable. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Yes, you were. But more than that, you showed me who you really are. You're someone who thinks love is about finding the best available option. Someone who sees relationships as transactions. Someone who values what other people think more than what actually makes her happy. That's not true, isn't it? Have you been more worried about how all of this looks on social media than the actual people you've hurt? Do you still talk about what you deserve, what you're entitled to? What's good enough for you? When was the last time you asked what you can give to a relationship instead of what you can get from it? She stared at me, tears streaming down her face. I love you, she whispered. I know you think you love me, but Briar, you don't know what love is. Love isn't about finding someone who makes you feel special or important or envied. It's about finding someone whose happiness matters more than your own ego. I started to close the door. Wait, she said, are you in love with Lila? I thought about that question. Was I? Maybe the seeds of something were there, definitely, but that wasn't the point. I'm in love with the idea of being with someone who chooses me every day, not someone who keeps me around until something better comes along. This time, I closed the door. Lila and I flew back to the States on Sunday morning. We were quiet for most of the flight, processing everything that had happened. When we landed, she turned to me. So what now? I don't know. I need some time to figure out who I am when I'm not trying to be good enough for Briar. Fair enough. But Holden, you are enough. You always were. She was just too wrapped up in her own drama to see it. 3 weeks later, I'm sitting in my apartment writing this post. The place feels different now that all of Briar's stuff is gone. Lighter, more like a real home. The fallout from our Paris trip was exactly what you'd expect. When we got back, Briar was facing absolute chaos. All the wedding vendors she hadn't paid were calling her, demanding money or threatening legal action for breach of contract. Her family was mortified. Her friends were asking awkward questions about why her ex-maid of honor was posting pictures from Paris with her ex-fiancé. She tried to control the narrative by posting long Instagram stories about going through a difficult time and learning valuable lessons about herself, but the damage was done. People had seen her dump a good man via text to run back to her ex, and then watch that relationship implode in real time while the good man moved on with someone who clearly valued him. The money from the engagement ring covered the entire Paris trip with some leftover. With the rest of it, I took a long weekend trip to wine country with some of my college buddies who were supposed to be at my wedding. We had a great time, and no one mentioned Briar even once. As for Lila and me, we're taking things slow, very slow. We text every day, we get dinner together once or twice a week, and she's helping me redecorate my apartment. Last weekend, we painted the bedroom. We picked a color Briar would have hated, and it's perfect. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.